Welcome to the Archaeology and Metal Detecting Magazine weekly newscast.
Hi everyone, I'm Dave Sadler from the Archaeology and Metal Detecting Magazine. Now I'm trialling something a little bit different tonight. I've not done it before. Obviously I have taken part in other podcasts and such like, but tonight I'm actually going to try my own interview with a special guest. Unfortunately we weren't able to do the All Metal Mode UK podcast tonight, so one of the guests on the show, Craig Denney, has he's bared with me thankfully while I've sussed out to the links Spreaker and Skype, and I have him to speak to tonight. So hi Craig, how are you?
Oh, not too bad, Dave.
It seems to be everything seems to be going swimmingly, so we'll crack on a little bit, shall we? So Craig, you are obviously a metal detectorist.
Yes, well, people probably better know me as Country Clegg on YouTube. I've got quite a few followers. And
your opening line to which is?
Where is it to?
Hello, my lovelies.
Oh,
So, Craig, how long have you actually been participating in metal detecting?
Well, about 4 years. I wasn't doing too well with work, and then suddenly I got a job where I started to earn big bucks, and I thought, "Whoa, I'm going to buy a metal detector." And I started off with one of these sort of cheap Chinese rubbishy things that fell apart in no time. Then I bought a Garrett Euro Ace, and after about a year, I'd had enough of the bell tones, and then I moved on to I've got a macro Mark 1, and now I'm quite happy with the CTX.
You use the CTX now, and obviously that's a lot more expensive than other machines, shall we say? And that is your machine to go to currently.
Oh yeah, because you go onto a piece of ground, and if the soil conditions are, they change so much from field to field, you can just switch to another program, and it's like having a different detector under your hand. It's amazing machine, really.
Brilliant. What is the weight like on the CTX? I know a few people I know have got the big slings and such like for them.
I'm a gardener as a occupation, so I'm used to sort of doing quite strong manual work. I've never had a problem with the weight. It is heavy, but it's never. I can swing it all day even with the big coil. It doesn't bother me.
I started originally years ago with my dad's old C-Scope 600 series. When I got back into metal detecting properly in the early 2000s, I was using an old analog Garrett. Which served me well. I really didn't know what I was doing at the time, etc. But then older days come, I wanted to get back into it full time. I got the Garrett Ace 150, and I found thereafter I upgraded and I bought the Minelab Xterra 705. And I've got to admit, we all like different machines. We've got, currently I'm using a Rutus Alta 71. And I've also got a C-Scope 600 XD, I think it is, or 400 XD. But I've always found, personally, my favourite machine for comfort and understandability on my own behalf is the Minelab. So obviously the CTX is a much more powerful and in-depth machine than I'm used to, but it certainly sounds like it's doing well for yourself.
Oh yeah, you got the confidence now that all the previous machines I had, I knew I was sort of walking over things and not detecting them, but with the Minelab, that what you're walking over, you're not missing a thing. It's like a Hoover. It just gets everything.
And have you had? Obviously, we're going to talk about potentially your major find shortly. Hopefully, what have you found otherwise before we talk about that?
Well, I've recently sent into the Finds Liaison Officer. I found a book clasp, an 800-year-old book clasp, which it's possible that the town near where I live was built in the 1200s. It's one of these sort of medieval new towns, and it's possible that this book class was held by the person who built the town all those hundreds of years ago. And it's just amazing that that this chap who built the town, who had the money to build this town, had this book clasp on his desk. So you can probably actually touched it because it's ecclesiastical. It's got Jesus Christ in Greek, actually in letters on it. It's amazing.
That sounds fantastic. I look forward to seeing that. Anything else of consequence?
And in exactly the same field, I found 3 Charles I coins, 2 half-crowns, and a shilling. And, they were all in the same hole, so they went off to the treasure people. And eventually they turned around and said, I can have them back. So hopefully I'm having them back soon.
Marvellous. I know there's a lot of changes and evolution within the portable antiquity scheme at present, and I know a lot of people complain about the time taken, but let's face it, last year's figures were record figures in people offering their finds to the portable antiquities scheme. So it's not a big organisation. There's 1 or 2 people assist the finds liaison officer themselves, so I can personally imagine how long it takes them to actually get through each and every one of the finds, because there must be hundreds in the system of one finds liaison officer. So
I would think that there's only one finds liaison committee, the actual valuation committee. There's only one committee, and I don't know how often they meet. Say they met once a month. Well, how many? Is it something like 80,000 metal detectorists out there? I don't know how many actually send stuff into the finds liaison people. But imagine if you found, 2 or 3 treasure items a year, and you're talking thousands of people doing that.
Yeah.
And they must be weighed under.
Must be exponential. And I hope that people who do listen to this this recording do take that into account when they say, bloody finds liaison officers had me things for years. So Craig, you've had a bit of a marvellous find, let's say. Something very exciting for both metal detectorists and archaeologists, and obviously yourself. So can we talk about that?
Yes, I have recently I've gone one step further with metal detecting, and I've bought a geophysics machine. And to actually, when you do your metal detecting, you're walking across a field. You're trying to guess what's under the ground. You might think, oh, I've got a big patch of iron. There's a lot of iron noise coming up. So you know that there's possibly a dwelling or some sort of building that's under the ground just where you are. But to actually get a geophysics machine and take it over the soil and actually see the foundations of walls and buildings under the ground, it just takes metal detecting to a whole new level of excitement. And recently I found what I'm hoping it is. I've still got an archaeologist coming to dig a hole in it just to confirm it. But it's looking like a Bronze Age barrow. And another place recently I found is another building that's near a Roman camp. So I'm hoping it's like a Roman villa.
And what? I take it you were actually metal detecting that before you actually thought, maybe geophysics may come into play here.
Oh yeah. You one of the deciding factors is a big patches of iron in the ground. So your metal detectors going crazy, and then digging up lots of pottery as well. And sometimes stones. You hit stones in the soil, and that is a really good indication that there's could possibly be stuff under the ground, like a building.
And you would pick it up. I take it pottery fragments too.
Oh yeah, there's one field that every hole I was digging up like Roman pottery all over the place. I did get another archaeologist in to do a much bigger survey of a field, and so far he's walked 48 miles with a magnetometer going up and down. He's done hundreds of these they look like little squares on your bit of paper.
Yeah.
they're 20 metres by 20 metres, and he's done 48 miles, and he's done half of the field so far. But I almost put him in hospital with the amount of walking he did.
And I take it his magnetometer results have shown some evidence of previous dwelling.
Oh yeah, we're right on the edge now of what looks like a Roman settlement, sort of like a small Roman village. So I've been going crazy with my. I've only just sort of bought this resistivity meter, and getting used to how it works is still sort of like I'm sort of learning bits every time I go out there and redo it. So I've do like one survey, then I've got to go back and do another one, just to sort of. Did I really see that where it was?
Yeah, and obviously when all the information's in, both yourself, both the metal detecting survey, your own personal geophys results, and the archaeologists' magnetometer results come into play, then there's a potential of looking at something quite significant.
Oh yeah. Obviously, some point down the road there'll probably be excavations, but that's a long way off, because the problem that I have is that I'm relying on their generosity really to come and geophys the fields. If they find something and they set up some deal with the landowner, then they might be able to excavate it. But as soon as a paid job comes along for the archaeologists, they're off doing the paid job.
Yeah.
So these things take an audible amount of time, and that's one of the reasons I bought my own geophysics machine, because even where we found the Roman settlement, that's 2 years into planning for him, and he's done half of the field, and he's not going to come back until the autumn.
Yeah. Because
the cows are on the field now, and it won't be until the cows are gone. He's not going to come back.
And we metal detectorists knows what nosy cows are like.
Well, they're young bullocks, and they've chased me across the field before now, and it can be a bit terrifying.
Yeah. I went on a site of mine not long ago, and the main fields that I've surveyed in the past were all seeded and growing and whatnot. So we had 2 strips of land that I was able to use. One was the cow field, and they were all young cows, and they would not leave me alone. And I thought, I'm going to get trampled in a minute, so I made a swift break over the cattle grid so they couldn't follow me anymore, and then made a round the house trip through the fields to get to the other area instead of going round the right way. So I think we can all appreciate
to make sure where they are. Like,
I think we can all appreciate that. So have you looked at LiDAR and such like as well of the area, and obviously maps and boundaries and such like from in the past?
Oh yeah, I really love LiDAR. It's a great program. It's not really a program. There's the one called House Price LiDAR, and it's a bit of a mishmash of areas where they've actually scanned, but it's very good at zooming in on the lumps and bumps. And another one I really like is viewshed analysis. And what you do with that is it was set up really so that if someone was building a house or a wind turbine, they would put it in a place where not many people could see it, so they could hide it, the wind turbine, so that they'd get the planning permission more easily. But what you can do with it is if you're standing at you're 6 foot tall and you're looking at 6 foot tall. Thousands of years ago, when the Romans or the Iron Age people were around, if their local village was being attacked by the Vikings, say the Vikings were coming in and they were attacking that village, what they would have at the time, they would be able to look. They'd like to see all their neighbours around them. Mm-hmm. So you can put the viewshed analysis point on a known camp, and it gives you that view of 5 miles that you can see. You can see 5 miles, and it gives you that whole spectrum around what you can see at 5 miles. So you can then work out where there might be another camp, even though it's not been recorded or people don't even know it exists. So you can do the same with a Roman road. You can put dots on the road, and you can work out where there might be a villa, because back in the day, they would have liked to have seen the road so they could see who was coming up and down the road for trade.
Yeah, I'm with you. Do you know, I've actually used a program myself. It's an online website that I've found fascinating. I keep going back, not just to study sites that I'm on, just to study the area I've lived in, Ellesmere Port, and the area I live now in Congleton. And it's called Cheshire Tithe Maps Online. And it's a fantastic program. You can put the location where you want to go into it. It takes you to the location. There's one area in particular I've been looking at, and you can go back. Well, in fact, what I'll do now, for instance, now I've just put my own address in. Let me put my postcode in while we're talking, and away we'll go.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it doesn't only give one tithe map. Yeah. It gives many tithe maps which you can actually overlay. Now, for instance, as I said, I'm currently looking at where I live, and we've got the tithe map from 1841, and it goes back further and further and further. A fantastic little resource. On the right hand side at the moment, I've got a modern day map, so you can actually see where I live. You've got a lane, a few doors down from me. There's a lane that goes down, and it's called Tommy's Lane. Now, I only found out a couple of weeks it was called Tommy's Lane because right behind me, which is now a housing estate, used to be a place called Bank House. And Bank House was obviously your big manor house locally, and the owner originally was called Tommy. Now, my road is called William Street. Apparently, it was originally called Edward Street, and that was basically just a brief conversation that I had with the chap from Congleton Museum. But, as I say, looking at this now, I'm astounded at the amount of information I can see, plot numbers and everything. There's more than one tithe map for this area that I can go through and see boundaries and things that are there. There's a little well, and the well appears on this as well. So, fantastic resources. LiDAR, your tithe maps online. I know the County of Staffordshire last time I looked didn't do it, but obviously people in Cheshire, if you use that facility, just Cheshire Tithe Maps online, you'll find that a very worthwhile resource to use. And maybe if you look yourself, you might be able to find something not dissimilar for your own area to assist in your own investigations.
Oh yeah, we around here we've got a similar sort of thing called Know Your Place, and you just tap in Know Your Place.
I say that a lot to my children.
And it's got a similar sort of thing. You've got all the tithe maps, and they're all like glued together and in a sort of a higgledy-piggledy way because they're all a bit sort of torn up and ripped and stuff. And you can zoom in and zoom out. You can overlay modern maps, and they've even got maps going back further than the tithe maps in nearer the cities. Mm-hmm. So it's an amazing resource. And even there's a little tick box you can tick and put in their archaeological finds, and it comes up with archaeological finds like
Brilliant.
Coins.
You see a lot of people, especially those who are more new to the hobby, don't realise that these facilities exist, these tools exist, and it does make things a hell of a lot easier. I mean, obviously the one I've just been looking at shows public footpaths or right of ways in the past. 100, 200 years later, you know what particular area to look at, and you've got all your different boundary lines, you've got your shapes in fields, you've got things like barrows that were on there years ago, and then obviously today they're not on the modern map. So a lot of information that can be found. Now, let's have a chat about your burial mound.
All right. Okay. Well, I've obviously done the geophysics on that, and it is showing up. It is aligned north, east, southwest, so it's on the right alignment. It looks as if it's got a burial chamber at one end because there's a big blob of high resistance, and then down at the other end there's lots other high resistance that look like big stones, like they would have put in an entranceway. So it's all on the right alignment. It just really needs this archaeologist to come back and just put in a test pit to tell me whether it is a burial mound or it's some sort of outcrop of rocks, which I'm hoping it's not. But the actual rocks it's made of is like sandstone, and all the rocks, all the natural stone around is more of a limestone. So it's even built of a different stone. So
fantastic.
We're hoping. I'm sort of almost 60-70% sure it's going to be something really old. And when I did metal detect the field around it, I didn't find any finds apart from a lovely flint flake right next to it, about a foot down, when I was digging for a target.
Very, very lucky. I take it this is in the Devon area, is it?
No, I'm from the sort of Bristol area.
Right, got you.
Yeah,
Marvellous.
South Gloucestershire.
Lovely place. Not far from Bath, where the Rodney Cook Memorial Metal Detecting Rally is taking place in September. Which, if you are going along to, by the way, either myself or Luke or both of us will be in attendance, and obviously it'll be nice to meet you face to face. So, what's next?
What's next? Yeah, it's just trying to fit in more geophysics. Well, I'm a gardener, so what I've been doing now is I've been doing my gardening in the mornings, and then in the afternoon I've been doing my metal detecting and my geophysics. So it's full on. I'm almost doing like 4 or 5 days a week doing it because I put out 3 videos a week, sort of in the mornings, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday mornings, which is probably a bit too much, really. But I'm dead keen. So I'm just hoping that one day I'm going to find this sort of a massive Roman villa or something huge, and then get the archaeologists in, and they'll dig it, and they'll find a huge mosaic, and it'd just be fantastic.
Something of consequence to the British Isles. I think that's my dream too. There's lots of hoards about, and obviously it'd be nice to get a hoard, but something that's defining in archaeology would be fantastic. Yeah.
It's that. I was dead worried about getting the geophysics machine, but now I'm really happy because it's a lot of work, and it's more exhausting than metal detecting because you do a lot of walking when you're setting out the tapes to do the grids. But it's 9 times out of 10 you come home, you put the card in the machine, and there's nothing there. But sometimes there is something there, and it's just great. You get the excitement level just goes through the roof.
It does. I don't know if I mentioned earlier, today, one of the things that myself and Luke at Archaeology and Metal Detecting Magazine try to do is obviously assist with learning and such like. Obviously, we're giving the information. We were originally founded to be a central location for information to come from, so people don't have to search all over the internet. They just go to one location and find it. Today, I was asked by my son's teacher, year 1, would I help their pirate topic and create a treasure hunt. So I've spent a lot of time spraying 2p's gold, and off I went with a load of clues and maps, and dug all the school grounds up. Well, first and foremost, I made the mistake of not actually... I knew the general area, but I didn't mark the holes. And I didn't realise the amount of 2p's, cans of Coke, and such like children had scattered from Victorian times all over the school field. So out of the 6 holes that I dug with the clues and the metal and such like in, I could only find 3. But I'll be participating again in a couple of weeks. The Beavers have asked me to do it, so as I say, I do an initial chat about archaeology and then about the metal detectors and treasure hunting and whatnot. And I think it worked. I think the children enjoyed it. So I'm all for teaching, and that's my little tale from the day.
One of the things I would love to do is go over a nice Victorian school playing field with a metal detector, because the amount of coins that must be down there must be They must be paved. These fields must be paved.
Yeah. Well, I'll set. What I'll do when we're off air later, and I can find the image, I'll send you pictures of the school when it was in Victorian times, and you'll appreciate. And obviously, the school field is all on the boundaries of the original school premises. So, I mean, I didn't go in. The amount of noise coming from the machine today was amazing. I'm going to try and talk the headmaster into letting me on it at the weekend, because what I'm thinking is, if I can metal detect it, I got 23p up today. From holes that I dug for the kids. Imagine how much is on the school field, and that money could actually go into school funds, and then obviously anything else would be a bonus. So that was my daily tale.
You can still change up the pound coins as long as they're clean. The banks will accept them.
Oh, I'll have to get cleaning. I've got loads here.
Get a tumbler.
Anyway, Craig, I'm gonna now leave you. I'm going to play the outro. If you could stay on the line, I'll have a chat with you momentarily off air. Right. Thank you very much for coming onto the show. It's a first for me to do this as a live recording. And as you know, I've had a bit of an experience trying to set that up, and inadvertently done it in the end. So thank you very, very much. Can you give your YouTube channel a bit of a shout out for us, please?
Oh yeah, I'm West Country Clegg on YouTube. I've got about 3,000, getting on for 3,000 subscribers and 400,000 views.
Wow!
I put out a video Friday, Saturday, and Sunday mornings, it's going along very nicely at the moment.
Marvelous!
Just started earning some money from YouTube.
Brilliant. Well, I hope this adds to your subscriber list somehow. And what I'll do, I'll make you aware of when this is online. I want Luke to have a listen first, see if he thinks the quality and what have is all right. Apologies to everybody who was looking forward to the All Metal Mode UK podcast tonight. Obviously, technical difficulties have brought that to a standstill for this week. So, Craig, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you and learning all about your site and the geophys and such like. So hopefully I'll speak to you again in the future.
I'm honoured to be your first guest.
And I'm honoured to have you. Thank you very much, Craig. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the Archaeology and Metal Detecting Magazine newscast special. We're hoping to do this more often in the future in a different capacity as its own show as opposed to the newscast. You can find out more from www.archmdmag.com. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook. The Facebook feed has 30 to 40 news stories and such like going through it a day, so all your information you'll need will be there. Again, thank you to Craig Denney. Thank you to Luke. And ladies and gentlemen, good night.
The Archaeology and Metal Detecting Magazine acts as a hub for information, offering articles from archaeologists, detectorists and other specialists throughout the genre, featuring many links, event info and news articles associated to archaeology and metal detecting. We also offer professional review services and promotion for books, resources, videos, documentaries, gadgets, equipment and much, much more. The magazine is run by the archaeological and metal detecting community for the archaeological and metal detecting community. So come visit us at archmdmag.com, that's archmdmag.com, and check out information from our media section with all the latest content, news from the Archaeology channel, podcasts and the YouTube channels that feature the now legendary Digger Dawn, the Man with the Hat and Archaeo Duck, just to name a few. If you would like to offer an article, link or inquire about other services, then pay us a visit at archmdmag.com and drop us a line.